everybody. We want to welcome you in on this Wednesday to Coronavirus Inside the Arizona Numbers. I want to thank all our awesome viewers who have joined us on here each and every day to post their questions about the coronavirus. We can help you find the data that you're looking for. We look at these websites all day, try to find interesting graphs and data that are out there that maybe you haven't found, and let you know a little bit more about them. Let us know. Hi, Kristen, I see your comment. Let us know where you're watching from in the comments. I think people who are watching on other devices, watching maybe on their streaming devices a little bit later, are cracking up at some of this and saying, I have to go check out what's going on the live stream one of these times. So we welcome those folks in. Remember, today is sort of a preview day. We learn a lot more on Thursdays, but because all of you are joining us here, we can help you get some insight into how things are going to look when they officially come out tomorrow from both the state and the counties. All right, Garrett, let's jump right in as we do each and every day on that summary page.
Yes, let's do that. So let me pull it up. Let's see. All right. Okay, so today, just make sure that's correct. I'm just going to refresh it real quick just to make sure, because I have about 6 of these AZDHS tabs opened up at any given time. Error message, that's awesome. It'll be back up in just a moment.
No worries.
All right. So today, 438 new cases today. And we have crossed that 215,000. We've got about 4,300 probables. That's the antigen tests. 5525 number of deaths. That's 27 new deaths added today. And the diagnostic test total was about 9,000, giving us a pretty decent percent positive in all cases, about just under, I think it was just under 5% for all of them. So, you know, again, no increase, at least in the summary numbers. In fact, it's actually slowing down a bit from last week's jumps so far. So, and also just something to note today, we're now at 11.4 for a diagnostic percent positive through the entire cumulative. I know that's not important to a lot of people, but for math geeks like me, it now rounds down to 11. It's been rounding up for 12 for quite some time. Now it's rounding down to 11. So I'll take it. I'll take what I can get.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, when we look at, I want to make sure that we check on Maricopa County. Something interesting happening here. So I want you to note the number of new deaths reported in Maricopa County, or in the state rather, was 27 today. But then, Garrett, am I seeing 29 in Maricopa County? Can you help folks better understand what would have happened here?
Yes. So what that means is that when we search around through others, so you're looking at 29 deaths, but that means that in this case, there's going to be 2 counties that withdrew, 1 or 2 counties that withdrew deaths, and no one else reported deaths. And that's why we come to 27. It looks like it's going to be 3 counties withdrew. So there's 1 there. Now, there are some other explanations. Here it is right there. That's Pima County. It rescinded 4 deaths, withdrew 4 deaths from the curve. So just to explain to people how deaths can be withdrawn from the curve, what that means is that they've done what's called certificate surveillance to pick up death certificates that may have been included in COVID-19 counts, and they're doing further investigation on these certificates. And one of 2 things happens: they either determine that it was not a clear enough, the death was not a result of COVID-19, or it's a temporary withdrawal, and they'll be put back on once sort of the dates are verified and all the other data is verified. Those are the 2 reasons we see data being withdrawn. And of course, the third, I should add the third, there can be, it's very rare, but there can be duplicates sometimes.
Yeah, so they work to make sure the numbers are accurate, the numbers are correct. So likely people wouldn't even notice this on there, but if you did see this today, the difference in numbers statewide versus the counties, that's what's happening there. We'll sometimes reflect that on Mondays as well, because if the good news is that there would be like a low number of deaths reported, and some of those that were checked on to make sure that the accurate number was there, it might actually show a negative number. And I say Mondays because that's the day that has the lowest reporting numbers. So sometimes we see that reflected in the numbers. Just wanted to explain why you might see that sometimes. All right. Anything else you want to get to on this page before we move on to the next thing, Garrett?
No, this page is pretty self-explanatory today. No surprises here today, thankfully. So
yeah, exactly.
You don't have to really touch more on the summary page.
And you said 9,000 results came in today, which is still a pretty solid number.
Yeah, very solid number. Under 5% positive across the board. So we'd like to see that.
Yeah, and 1.7 million results overall here in Arizona for those interested in that number. Hey, a cute story I wanted to share really quickly. In Finland, they're actually they're testing out coronavirus sniffing dogs, so that they would train these dogs to be able to sniff out coronavirus, as we've seen in other situations where they've used dogs for this. What a cute and remarkable thing that they're trying to do right there. If it works, obviously it could spread, but they're trying that out in Finland right now. Wanted to pass that along. All right, back to our numbers. We had some questions yesterday about looking up counties specifically and seeing how the counties look. And we were trying to find some other sites. I believe it was a viewer named Kay who was on here. I don't know if Kay is with us yet, but I wanted to share this COVID Act Now site that actually drills down into the counties, and we want to show you what we find on this site to be stable to look at, and what maybe you should go to your specific county site to go check even more about this. So let's share this this overview first of all, and then it goes down to the counties.
So this is a site that initially I wasn't very impressed with COVID Act Now at the very beginning of it. They were using a lot of the very broad estimate models to make their projections, and they were showing just extremely aggressive infection rates that we just weren't seeing. And then they also, similar to several of the other sites, as time has gone on, they've refined their models, they've refined the way they've collected their data and calculated their data, and it's actually quite an impressive site now. So this can happen. I mean, obviously, this is a 100-year pandemic. So, you know, everybody's sort of guessing in some ways, and as time goes on, you get a little better at doing things. So this is one of those sites that I would put in that list. So this is the state site for Arizona. Let me just go back to COVID Act Now, its warning system here, so you just understand what that color means. They have 4 color levels. Red is active or imminent outbreak. Orange is at risk. Yellow is slow disease, and then green is on track to contain. And you can see that Vermont is the only state that actually has that green classification. Everybody else either has yellow, red, or orange, Arizona being one of the orange categories in this case. Now, interesting thing about Arizona is their threshold for orange to yellow is 10 per 100K, and we are at 10.1. So we're just in the orange category of at risk for an outbreak. The rate of transmission that COVID Act Now calculates for us is 1.05. With the 6.4 positivity test, this is the one thing that I would caution everyone to ignore in any of the websites out there, from John Hopkins all the way to this one. Never pay attention to the positivity rate that they have, because it's simply it's inaccurate. That's why we calculate the positivity rate off of the curve to get something better. And as I've said, we're well under 5% here. So that's just something to put out. And then, of course, here's their ICU headroom and then tracers hired information as well. So now we can go down to the counties. And for this, I'll just have all of them showing. We'll do view all counties. This is really great. I was neglecting this site, so thank you very much, Kay, for bringing this up. And we can see it gives a rate of transmission for all of Arizona's 15 counties, as well as a case per 100 for the daily new cases per 100. And you can see Coconino right now, which they have very helpfully marked as a college county, a county with a large college presence, obviously NAU. And they've shown that the case per 100 there, 22.5 with an RT of 1.2. Pima County, they don't put it as because this is an urban county, they don't mark it as a college county, but obviously U of A is a big part of Pima County as well. Also 22.5 with an RT of 1.27. And then you start getting into the other counties. Gila County, Apache County, it starts to drop. Yuma County, it's now under 10. And then as we keep going down, it goes well under 10 all the way to Greenlee County, 0. Because as we know, Greenlee County continues to have no active cases in the county.
And 2 of the counties I wanted to highlight just a little bit more, both Yavapai and Coconino, because we had those requests on here today.
Yes, so let's see. Oh, they even have a separate site for that. So very nice. Here we can have their daily new cases, 3.2, and then an infection rate of 0.79. And again, the positivity test rate unknown. Who cares? Because it's not a good estimate anyway. And then we can look at, you said, which one was the other one you wanted to look
The
at?
other request we were getting was from Coconino County. They were concerned about a pop there. I believe it was Kay who had asked us yesterday
Yes.
for that, and I just want to make sure
and there is absolutely a pop here, obviously, 22.5 with a 1.2 infection rate. Now, this is, what you just, I don't know if we talked about this yet, but as far as New York putting us back on the list, they put us on the quarantine list. They put any state that goes above 10.1 cases a day on the quarantine list. So, or excuse me, 10 cases a day. So now that we're at 10.1, we're back on it for now.
Okay.
And a lot of that is because of Coconino and the college towns. So
yeah, I have a friend traveling today to New York, so it'll be interesting to see what their experience is coming from Arizona. But again, as you just mentioned there, we were going to talk about this as well. New York, yes, putting Arizona back on that quarantine list. So if you have plans to travel, you'll want to check that out before you head to New York City at this point. If this site, we've got the address up on the screen. Dina's writing, thank you for the site. You're so welcome. It just gives a little bit of a closer look, and Garrett explains some of the caveats there, the things to kind of gloss over, and then just go look at your specific county if you want to find a little bit more on that, and then what is really accurate, true numbers on there that you can trust at this point that have stabilized. So just check out that site at will. And Brant saying, thanks for sharing Yavapai. You're welcome. I wanted to make sure that you were covered in that. And if Kay, one of our viewers, is on here today, hopefully she was able to see Coconino County. If not, we'll make sure she gets that as well. One of the sadder notes from yesterday, we passed 200,000 deaths here in the U.S., passing 201,000 now today. And then as far as the numbers across the world, 973,000 deaths, 31.7 million cases, and we're just now approaching 7 million cases in the U.S. So a lot of numbers to get to there, but I wanted to make sure everybody was updated on that. Okay, this is County Preview Day, as we've sort of named it here. The county updates come out on Thursdays, but because all of us here look at this data so closely, we want to always give you a bit of a preview, show you where things stand right now, and then Garrett, as you see things changing based on tomorrow. So would you like to start with business or schools first?
We'll start with businesses because they're the most obvious sort of changes, and we do have, some. We've got some interesting movement that could be occurring tomorrow in some of the counties, and this is all based off of the bounces we had last week in several of the counties. So, as you can see, the AZDHS only has data right now from August 30th, excuse me. So now I'm looking ahead to September 6th, the week of September 6th, which is the next week to be added to this this dashboard. And I see two counties, one county in particular, actually, two counties that are actually in trouble. And those two counties are what we've talked about, Coconino County. Coconino right now, it looks like for the week of September 6th is going to be posting around 100 per 100K per capita. And that technically puts them in that double asterisk that Pinal was in, where they were given moderate status. But then they said, they are, even though they're over this, we're still going to give them moderate status. The problem with Coconino is that the week after that, the week of 9/13, it looks like it is increased to about 170 right now. So it does look like, as of right now, that Coconino will be put back into substantial at some point in the future, unless something drastically changes.
Yeah, and Garrett, have we heard what that means beyond just a designation? If they said if they dipped into it, nothing would change, it would just be something to watch. Have you heard anything more about their plans if it's a sustained play, like they're
I was under the impression that I know that they were watching it on the first week, but my understanding, and my understanding could be wrong, of course, is that if it shows 2 weeks in a particular category, it will flip back into that category. So,
okay.
For example, next week, the other county is Pima County. Pima County looks like it's going to post over 100 cases per week. And that would technically put them over into substantial, but only for 1 week. However, again, Pima County is right now posting 111 for the week of 9/13. So they do have 2 weeks in a row right now where they're going to be in the red. And I don't know if that means that AZDHS is going to flip them back to substantial because of that, or if it's still going to be sort of in that asterisk category of, hey, we did a lot of testing with the universities, and we're not confident that it's going up too high, but I don't know. Whatever decision they make, I don't even know what they're going to say about this, but I do know that those two counties are very likely to show 2 weeks of growth in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, we'll continue asking what this means. Just to recap for everybody, there's 3 categories for business: minimum, moderate, and substantial. And as of, let's see, 9/17, was that last Thursday? Yeah, 9/17. Graham was the only one left in the substantial category. Greenlee was in the minimal category, and then in the moderate category was everybody else, all 13 other counties. So that's kind of where things stood.
They may make a decision to keep the counties in the moderate, because it does appear at the same time we're going to have those higher per capita numbers. We are not going to have significantly higher percent positive numbers for both of those counties. So they're going to be now there's going to be a divergence. Instead of both of those metrics going up, they're only going to have one up. And again, since these are recommendations, they may just decide to sort of put an asterisk on them rather than flip them back into red. I just don't know yet.
Okay. And we'll keep asking those questions to try to get answers on what that situation is going to look like. Okay, so as far as we've covered the business side of it, as far as schools go, that detailed map for zip codes and specific school districts will come out tomorrow. We've been lucky enough that we've gotten those early enough that we've been able to go over them with you and look up your specific zip codes and school districts on here with you on Thursday. So we hope you join us tomorrow for that. In the meantime, the countywide overview of this, they switched the board. They still leave it green, yellow, red, which is handy, but now they've added words into it, which helps people who don't look at this stuff every day, for virtual being red, hybrid being yellow, and then green being in person. The only county that's full in person was coming up as, no surprise, the same thing as the business category, is Greenlee. Virtual learning, the county still held in that. It was Gila, Graham, Mojave, and Yuma. So I know that they're anxious to learn if they will get anywhere closer to moving into that hybrid category. So everybody else in the hybrid: Apache, Cochise, Coconino, La Paz, Maricopa, Navajo, Pima, Pinal, Santa Cruz, Yavapai, all staying at this point in that hybrid category. Now, again, we'll get into the zip codes, we'll get into the school districts as we get more information out tomorrow. This is the broad overview, giving you a preview.
I'm looking at this unfortunately, I haven't done my full calculations for the tests yet, but I'm looking at them as we're going through these. And it does appear right now that Mojave County will likely, pardon me, they will make their benchmarks tomorrow. It does appear for the percent positive. Because they were being held up by the 7.9, and they're going to be down in this level here with a 2 consecutive week decrease as of right now. So it does look like they're going to be moved into the next category. Gila County, it does appear that Gila is going to be moving down slightly. In this next group, they're going to go from about, it says that 82. I actually have 77 for them. And then the next I have is 76. So they're going to have 2 consecutive declining cases under 100. So they'll make that, as far as their percent positive is concerned. It also, it looks like it's going to be another nail biter for Gila County if they're going to make that 7%.
Wow. Okay. So we'll note that. We'll be watching that one very closely.
Graham County does not look like it's going to make it tomorrow, at least right now. It looks like they're going to be posting they'll be posting a decline in their percent or their cases. It's for 2. It is, I guess it would be considered for, I don't know if it would be for 2 consecutive, I guess. But they're going to be posting a decline in per capita cases. As far as the percent positive, it looks like they will be at 6% next week. So it's been sort of muddled. Since they're using the 2 data points together, so it's technically, because it's going to go from 114 to, where's Graham again? Sorry, to 31 tomorrow. That it's going to be 2 consecutive weeks of decline. So technically, they're going to make that. I just don't know quite yet. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Graham.
Yeah. Okay. And lastly, Yuma. Gosh, Yuma, Yuma's been so patient.
Yeah, I know. Yuma looks like it is posting it looks like it's going to post an increase tomorrow for per capita. So that's actually but they're going to be still less than 100. So they should make that. So let's go to their percent positive really quick. I'm just looking at it, and it does look like they're at 5% for tomorrow. So Yuma may be put into it tomorrow.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah,
they've been patiently waiting.
Yes.
Okay, so it sounds like Mojave, Yuma might be moving in. Graham's a no. Gila County kind of on the fence. We'll have to just wait and see.
Yeah.
Too
It
close to
looks
call.
like Graham and Gila are going to be on the fence. Absolutely.
Okay. I want to get to some of the questions. Speaking of patient, you all have been so patient. I'm reading the questions as Garrett's talking. Want to get to some of them. First of all, Brant saying thank you for the information on Yavapai. Brant, you're so welcome. Jenny's asking about fall break. She's going to be, it sounds like somebody she knows, or maybe she is traveling to New York City, wondering if they could possibly be off the list by fall break by next week. So you'll have to watch that closely, because Garrett, you're saying that 10 was the kind of the threshold for New York kicking states to the quarantine list, and we're at 10.1 right now.
Yeah, we will be under 10. In fact, we'll be under 10.
Back under it tomorrow, maybe?
Tomorrow, but I don't know how often New York removes states from their quarantine list. So I don't know the answer to that, simply because of on New York's end. They said this is due to last week's bounce that we're already seeing a slowing of. So we're probably going to be under that very shortly, but again, I don't know when New York actually, makes adjustments to that list.
Yeah, if they're doing it weekly or whatever. So it's worth checking. Jenny, thank you for the question, and safe travels. Let's see.
I see Margaret is asking about the mask mandates.
Yes. So there's been a lot of conversation about that. Margaret, want to get to your answer. And by the way, the other answer you asked me last week, I still have to get back to you on that. I'll DM you on that one. But the mask mandate. So the conversation was happening in Scottsdale. The mayor was asking to lift the mandate. That would be in Scottsdale only. But keep in mind, there's still a mandate for Maricopa County. So you still have to wear a mask in Scottsdale. You have to wear a mask anywhere in Maricopa County at this point. So we will continue tracking what's going on over there in Scottsdale, but at this point, it really doesn't matter, because Maricopa County's already decided you need to be wearing a mask. Brantley writes, everyone tests positive, and some people are replying they have not tested positive. I've tested twice and been negative twice. And so I can guarantee, even just from my own personal experience, only one of 1.7 million tests out there, I'm two of 1.7 million tests, that not everyone tests positive. So just wanted to update you on that. Karen's asking about community spread. I have to get back to Karen's question. I even think producer Josh may have responded in the comments. She was asking, producer Josh, you're all over it. So it looks like she's got the answer right there. But if you're looking up community spread, where could she easily find the numbers and the levels for that? Would you suggest, Garrett, for websites out there?
To determine community spread, that's one of the reasons why the RT estimate exists. So I would say, for layman's purposes, I would rely on the RT number at this point, and just sort of see if it's over 1, under 1, as sort of the best indicator of community spread. Because we don't really have really great indicators of what would be community spread out there. So the one thing we do have is that Maricopa zip code map that will be updated tomorrow. That sort of gives us a good idea of what zip codes are growing and what ones are shrinking. And obviously, community spread would be a situation in which there are more zip codes in Maricopa that were growing than were shrinking. And so far, that hasn't been the case in Maricopa. We've seen some spikes in certain zip codes, but most zip codes have, in fact, a good majority of zip codes are, I'd say 3/4 are going the correct direction.
Yeah. Let's see. Brian asks, at what percentage do they lift the mask mandate? I don't believe that they've put a certain percentage out, or any parameters or metrics for their lifting of the mask mandate. At least I've not heard
anything like that anywhere in the country.
Yeah.
I've never heard. I haven't read an article or anything that says that there's a percentage or a gating requirement to lift the mask mandate. I just haven't seen anything.
Yeah. Let's see. Somebody was asking about hospitalizations. It looks like in Maricopa County, we're seeing about 10% of our cases show up at the hospital. I believe that was the most recent number. You can find that on the Maricopa County website. And at last check, Garrett, I think it was 10% of the cases in Maricopa County were ending up hospitalized. 1% of the cases end up in the ICU. So if you're interested to do the quick math on that, there's 140,000 cases in Maricopa County. So you can kind of figure what that sort of reflection is in those numbers.
What is sort of correct is that the ICU numbers that we're seeing right now. We continue to see record ICU declines. So this is great news for the most part. I know somebody was being a little cute in the comments saying, well, the hospitals are empty. And while that's not necessarily true, it is kind of true with the ICU. The ICU numbers are very low right now. So this infection rate, and we've seen this, we've seen growth in these infections coming from this under 2044 category, these categories that don't usually require hospitalization. So this is why we're seeing ICU numbers drop. And we've seen a little bit of bumps here and there in the inpatient numbers. But again, there's this big difference now. We're seeing some rises in inpatient, but just consistent drops in the ICU numbers.
Yeah. Mariah writes, we will be wearing masks for a while. Just embrace it. Exactly. Get one you like. Get one that either makes a statement or looks cool or something, because she's right. They're going to be around for a while.
I got it from the Center of the Center of Politics at the University of Virginia.
Yeah, what does yours say? I saw you post a picture online. I thought I'm going to have to zoom in to see that.
I'm looking around for it, but it has that famous quote from the Daisy ad, the one from 1964.
Oh, back in the day. Yes, that really moved the election.
Yeah, it's the Daisy ad quote. It's a great mask.
Oh my gosh. Where did you get that one?
I got it from the University of Virginia Center for Politics. A friend of mine works there, and he sent it to me.
Oh, very cool. And your daughter had an adorable mask, too. I got to get my kids some cuter ones.
Yeah, she was color-coded.
Yeah, you see, they're not complaining at this point, but they just have boring masks right now. All right. Kathy was asking for the October-November outlook on things. We went over this a bit yesterday, so we won't spend too much time on it. But Stephen writes, I'm getting maskne. It's ruining my soft features. Stephen, I'm so sorry. The good news is, Stephen, there's been a bunch of stories on how to fix maskne out there. So if it is a point of interest for you, we can point you to some of those stories. All right. So back to Kathy's question. She was asking about the October-November outlook.
Let me go to my my projection site. We're going to stick with this one today because it's clean and it's very simple to understand. This is the MIT projection using machine learning. Let's just, what you said, October, November?
She was looking for October, November outlook. I know there were a few that go to January.
October. So this one goes to October 31st. So we'll find one we'll look at the other one for November here in a moment. But so this one, as we've seen, this one does have a slight increase. It's starting to sort of show a slight ascent, but it's very, very slight for October 3rd, all the way through October 31st. And that just means that this model says, well, we've seen some increases in cases in Arizona, so we're going to presume that it's going to slowly increase over a period of a month, and it will revise it. This model recalculates every single day. So as time goes on, we'll see what happens. Now, as far as we'll just go to the Washington model. I'm just Googling it because it's faster for me to do that, and we'll just type in Arizona.
As you're pulling it up, I just want to mention some of the hilarious mask comments that you guys are posting right now. Debbie writes, create a mask wardrobe. I love it. A good idea. And Kristen writes, heard good things about the kids' masks over at Costco, so she ordered a pack to try them out. Let us know how they work. And Kimberly writes, the good news is masks mean less makeup use for the ladies. That's for sure, except if you work in TV. Then we're constantly taking our masks off, and half of our TV makeup is there on our masks. So it's creating an interesting conundrum. We definitely wash our masks every day because they are gross after one use here.
So this one goes all the way through January 1st.
Okay.
The IHME model. And you can see it does have certain divergences because it does have scenarios with mandate easings and masks and everything else. So this one, our current projections for daily new infections has us at about where it says right now. It's kind of interesting. It has, as you can see, it's kind of hard to read, but it has three infections here, three rates.
Three rates, yeah.
Mandates easing, universal masks, and current projections for Arizona. And so what we have is mandates easing. It has us at, they think that about at the beginning of January, we could be at 44,800 daily new infections. However, with universal masks and current projections, they're both at 10.8 thousand. So it assumes right now that our masking policy in Arizona is just as good as universal masking, which we've already talked about because of the size of Maricopa County. Our policy is, in fact, it's typical in Arizona. It really is sort of a universal mask policy, even if it's coming from a statewide mandate.
You're saying the difference if we went statewide versus just Maricopa
Actually,
County, where
it's if universal mass versus our current projection, it's essentially the same number at this point.
right, 4.4 million here in Maricopa County,
Yeah.
so the largest point of our population.
Yeah.
Okay,
The one thing to note, and it hasn't changed yet on this, is that there's still, this is the first time when we started going back to this site, I see that they're at least in their projections showing that there is a possibility, although be it a small possibility, that we do exceed our hospitalizations again at Christmas, essentially, December 23rd to December 24th. And now this is a small possibility. If you look at this line, this shaded line, or this dotted line, is the actual sort of mean projection, and the shaded area is their highest to lowest. And you can see right here at December 17th, in the shaded area at basically the max, basically saying, well, we think that there's a 3% chance essentially that you could go over your hospitalizations on December 17th.
yeah. Either way, such sad timing to see in this. I don't think when people are worried about not spending time with their friends and family on Christmas because they're having to socially distance, there's nothing more distant than having to use the hospital resources on those two very days. So that's why we talk about this so often, to make safe choices for your family. Speaking of which, there's been a lot of conversation when we hit that 200,000 mark, sadly, yesterday in deaths for COVID. I got a lot of comments on my Facebook page saying, well, what about the flu? What about the flu? And obviously everybody's heard this argument forever and ever. But when we look at those numbers, so we actually are getting more information released on our flu numbers, both here in Arizona and across the U.S. So I just want to update you. When your argument is the flu deaths versus coronavirus deaths right now, be sure to know your numbers very well, because we've lost 200,000 people to coronavirus in the U.S. in the past 6 months. We've lost 40,000 in the whole last year due to the flu. In a year versus 6 months. We can drill down to those numbers even more specific for Arizona to show everyone. And it looks like 160 deaths last year here in Arizona came from the flu. We want to show you this chart on AZDH's website to help you better understand. You can look up this information for yourself. You can even see the flu year that was terrible just about 2 years ago. I think it was 2018. We lost 300 people to the flu here in Arizona. You can also see pediatric flu deaths, which we do report on here at ABC 15, have since anyone ever even talked about the coronavirus on TV. But you can see these numbers for yourself right here on AZDHS's website, and it's going to be populated even more throughout this flu season.
Yeah, and these deaths that are being reported, a couple things to notate, of course, is that epidemiological weeks, you can see it starts at week 41 of the prior year and ends at week 39 of the current year. So like for 2019, this starts at week 41. So about where we are right now, and then goes to about 2 weeks ago from what we're in. Basically right now we're in the 2020-2021 flu season.
Yes. Yeah. Just clicking into that next year. So, and we're just on the start of it, which is why the Roll Up Your Sleeve campaign is out there for people to go get a flu shot and make sure that you take care of that as well.
We're on week 35, 36. So we're coming to the close of the 2019 season.
Yeah.
So that's their number.
So this map or this graph you can find on AZDHS on their site, .gov/flu, if you want a little more information on how things look. Hopefully with a lot more people being aware of the flu shot and being careful with masks, that we will have lower numbers. But obviously they're now calling this the twin demic, the two pandemics at once, and that's why it's such a concern, and that's why they're pushing people to go get out there and roll up your sleeve through all of this. I'm seeing a lot of comments about mental health as well. Absolutely something to take care of yourself during this crisis. I forget the percentage that was released in July about how many people are dealing with mental health problems through all this. I don't know how you can escape mental health issues through all of this. It's been crushingly sad, and it's been a scary time for a lot of folks. So taking care of that is so important. Producer Josh adding the Teen Lifeline group here and the phone number there. I always recommend that you put this into your cell phone. you put this into your kids' cell phone if they're old enough to have one, so that number is always handy. Teen Lifeline has a special place in my heart. I host their fundraisers and their dinners and volunteer for them. This is a teen-based line. So when you call in to talk to someone as a young person, you're talking to other people who get your issues, who understand the junk that's on social media and the things that only this generation has had to deal with. So I highly recommend making sure that they have this number safe in their phone. I'm seeing some people on here talking about losing someone to suicide. So it's a issue close to my heart. So thank you for bringing it up.
I see Sarah Kaplan Schmidt is asking about, she's saying something about flu cases were much lower, probably because all things we do to prevent coronavirus. And she's not wrong. In fact, the AZDHS has that data on this dashboard too. I'll just bring it up really quick before we move on to the next thing. And it's right here in the influenza-like illness data for 2019, and then also for the 2018 season, last season. You can see last season, we started an increase at about July 21st that continued to about 1.7% of hospital visits were from influenza on the week of September 29th. Now, we don't have 29th yet, so I'm going to go to September 20th. Let's go to the 8th. The 8th is 1.3%, but here we are at already 0.9%, and you can see it drops almost to, I mean, it's already well under. And we're looking at, I know it's September 22nd. We got to wait to see. Obviously, this data isn't populated in yet, but already down from where we were, and no increases. So this is great right now.
Yeah.
So hopefully this line continues.
Yeah, Sarah is clarifying, and I want to make sure her clarification's on there too, that she was writing in response to someone asking about Australia's flu season. And it's so important too, because we watch what's happening there to adjust our vaccine and make sure that things are safe here for everybody as well. Sarah, thank you for the comment. Teresa writes, will we continue to wear masks through every flu season then from now on? Teresa, I'm kind of thinking about it. I'm pretty grossed out as we hear more and more, but I've never been like a germaphobe, but the more I'm, watching all this stuff every day, I'm just kind of like, I could just hang with my mask forever. I'm just kind of that grossed out at this point. Kimberly writes, it would save lives if we did. Yeah, certainly. If we had a season like 2018, I would definitely consider that once again. All right. Okay. We spent a little time on that. Some more good news, some more getting back to normal news. I want to discuss the Cardinals are starting to invite people back to the stadium. I'm not on the invite list, Garrett. I don't think you are either. It's very close friends and family that they're going to have back in the stadium as they start to get closer to easing restrictions. So they're going to test out having people back in, getting used to things once again in the stadium. But again, this is just going to be friends and family and people who are close to the team to try to get used to things back in the stadium. And then hopefully it's getting a little closer to inviting guests back in. We're in a different set of circumstances because we do have a roof that can open, but it's still considered indoors. So they've got to talk to state and local leaders to make sure that everything's safe through that. Okay.
Before we move on, I'm sorry, just Shannon, okay. I didn't show the COVID-like illness on the CLI because that wasn't the right page. If you'd like to see the CLI,
we'll show you. Let's show her exactly where it is.
Let's show the CLI because it's right here. So that I was showing just the influenza-like illness, but here's the COVID-like illness. So here's the data for what we're looking at right here. Also decreasing. We're at for emergency room visits, 2.3%. That's essentially where we were in March. That's inpatient, not emergency. My apologies. And then for the emergency room departments, we're lower than we were throughout the entire pandemic right now. So really good numbers for our CLI, but the CLI does exist and we're not hiding it.
Yeah, not the case. And I want to say your name right. Kalenika, I want to make sure I'm saying your name right. She's posted a couple of comments about suicide that we were talking about. And I want to thank you for bringing up the conversation. And it is an important one. And so often the criticism on here is, well, what about cancer? What about this? What about that? What about this? And I wish we could address every single topic. In fact, I wish we would take how much time we've spent on COVID and tackle cancer next. But we can't just continue to shut down the economy and shut down everything. But that is I never want people to think that we're skipping out on talking about something else because we're talking about coronavirus. It's just that this is the topic of this Facebook Live. So that's why we stick on it. So I hope I pronounced your name right, and thank you so much for adding to the conversation. I haven't seen your name here before, so I just want to welcome you in. Melanie writes, will we limit winter visitors or test them before they come back to our state in droves? I have heard nothing about plans for that. Of course, we had a quarantine list that we were limiting other states were limiting us. That's the only conversation I've heard around that at this point. I don't know how many winter visitors will be here this year. We've talked about this in past days. We may have more visitors who are looking to work remotely, who say work in New York or DC or Chicago, who are working from home and are able to say, you know what, a patio in 80 degrees in Phoenix, Arizona, when I can work remotely instead of my apartment here in New York or Chicago, sounds darn nice. And so I'm headed that way. So we might see those numbers instead of the same. Our snowbird demographics may change. That's an easy way to say all that. Okay, Garrett, we're getting low on time here. I quickly want to talk about the hospitalization numbers before we wrap here for the day.
So yeah, we'll just do a quick pass with the hospitalization numbers, show you what's good and show you what's, and I don't want to say bad, but
what's to watch? Yeah.
So it's worth to watch. We continue to see an increase in our inpatient numbers for COVID-19 for several days now. Something to just watch. It's, as you can see, it's sort of a level pattern right now, not increasing really towards where the actual slope was, but something to watch. Ventilator use did increase a little bit, but by no means major numbers. ICU, this is what we were talking about today, record low ICU numbers, and this continues. It's leveled off a little bit, but it still continues to go down. Discharges really shot up today, which I wasn't really expecting to see such a massive discharge shoot up like this, but very interesting number, but staying level as you can see. Emergency room visits really dropped today, which again, it sort of threw me that it would have such a large drop after so many weeks of just stability. So I'm going to watch this over the next couple of days to see if this was reporting metric error or if this is actually true and we see a sustained drop in emergency room visits. And then intubations did increase as well, but not past sort of where we would expect it in the numbers.
Yeah. So just a brief touch on hospitalization numbers. We wanted to make sure we got to that. And then one more thing we just wanted to touch on as we leave you here today. NPR has an exclusive place that they are updating, because I saw a lot of questions on schools. They're updating schools, and Garrett, it's worth noting, it's worth checking, but it's not as populated as we'd like to see to sort of get a real life sense of how things look. In fact,
Correct.
One of the learning models there has only 600 responses, but the strengths and weaknesses of this page.
Yeah, so this is a school response dashboard. It does appear that it's voluntary response. As of right now, we have 340 responses nationwide for students and 560 for staff. That's not a lot, especially for a voluntary response dashboard to do anything with quite yet. Very interesting data though. As this gets filled in, this may become a great resource. Arizona, like for example, only has 8 responses, so that's not statistically significant. We can't use it for anything quite yet. But like I said, if this continues to be filled in, this could be very interesting over time. So we're going to try to keep tabs on this over the next couple of weeks to see how it fills in and to see if we can make any use of it.
Yeah, we'll for sure keep kind of peeking at it, let you know if anything more gets filled in. I want to answer one last question. Brian's asking, why wouldn't the total number of cases be dropping if the cases per day is dropping? So we have 215,000 cases here in Arizona. I'm wondering if he's looking for the active cases, because I think
he's looking for the active cases. Yeah, that makes sense, because that cumulative number never drops, but of course, the vast majority of those people, those 215,000 cases, the vast majority of them are no longer active cases.
So I want to give Brian the range that you're calculating as of this morning, about 11,000 to 17,000 active cases here in Arizona. So Brian, that's likely the number that you're looking for. Hopefully,
yes, confirmed cases. That would not count, say, some college students that maybe got the sniffles actually have an active infection of COVID-19 but didn't get a test, because that's going to happen with that younger demographic.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. That's all the time we have. Thanks for the lively conversation, the really good questions today. Happy to answer them. Thursdays, we always have a ton to talk about on Thursday, because those new numbers specifically come out from the counties and how things look both for businesses and schools, and also that zip code map. We'll get to all of it. Bring your zip code, bring your school district. We'll dive in for all of you through that. It'll be the majority of the time that we spend with you here tomorrow. We want to let you know where you can contact each of us. You can find Garrett. You saw his Twitter account there a second ago. There it is, at Garrett_Archer. I'm on Twitter at Katie Raml. You can also find me, if so many of you are watching from Facebook, if that's the best place, facebook.com/news from Katie. Our newscasts are coming up. I'll be anchoring the 4 o'clock. That's why I'm here at the station in just about 90 minutes. Hope you'll join me for that. We also have newscasts at 5, 6, and 10 p.m. and our new newscast over on the CW61 happens at 9 p.m. each evening. Hopefully I got them all there. If you can't make any of those, you can find our very latest coronavirus reporting at abc15.com/coronavirus. And as always, be safe out there, everybody. We'll see you back here tomorrow.